The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
James and John, the sons of Zebedee, approached Jesus. Master, they said to him, we want you to do us a favor. He said to them, what is it you want me to do for you? They said to him, allow us to sit one at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. You do not know what you are asking, Jesus said to them. Can you drink the cup that I must drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I must be baptized? They replied, we can. Jesus said to them, the cup that I must drink, you shall drink, and with the baptism with which I must be baptized, you shall be baptized. But as for the seats at my right hand or my left, these are not mine to grant. They belong to those to whom they have been allotted. When the other 10 heard, they began to feel indignant with John and James. So Jesus called them to him and said to them, you know that among the pagans, their so-called rulers lord it over them, and their great men make their authority felt. This is not to happen to you among you. No, anyone who wants to become great among you must be your servant, and anyone who wants to be first among you must be your servant and slave to all. For the Son of Man himself did not come to be served, but to serve, and to lay down his life as a ransom for many. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
A very good morning, everyone. The past weeks, as we draw closer to the end of the year, Jesus was speaking about the journey to Jerusalem. Ultimately, the end of his destination was Jerusalem. And when you begin to look at the Gospel of Mark, one of the most beautiful texts that comes to light is he resolutely took that road to Jerusalem, simply meaning it was with sheer determination he fixed his eyes to Jerusalem. It was very clear to him he wanted to go to Jerusalem. But the irony of the story is none of the disciples understood what he was speaking about. They never captured or they never understood what he was speaking about. And that is why in the midst of the past couple of weeks, if you've been following, Jesus was trying to form them, he was trying to catechize them in the different experiences of life and faith. If you remember one, they were struggling among themselves, who's the greatest? You know, and Jesus says, no. He took a little child before them and says, be like a little child. And then John at one point was struggling. He says, they are not with us, they are against us. Shall we call fire among them? Jesus says, who is with us is with us. Just be patient, John. There was this continuous struggle between the disciples because they never understood what was Jesus trying to speak about Jerusalem. And today we have this text. Two of the disciples, James and John, they were considered the inner circle of Jesus. Peter, James, and John, the inner circle. If you remember the story of Jairus at the home when he went to heal, this tree was called in. When he was up in Mount Tabor, the three of them were up with Jesus, his close disciples. And just like any child who makes a request to the Father, these two went up to Jesus and says, Jesus, can you do us a favor? Can you allow us to sit at your right and your left when you come to glory? I repeat to you this because the idea and perception that these disciples had in mind was Jesus was about to make a Sheraton move in Jerusalem. He was going to change the political scene in Jerusalem. And so one of them asked, can I be the Minister of Finance? And one can become the Deputy Prime Minister. They were looking for this glory in Jerusalem. And Jesus says, guys, do you know what you're asking for? Do you understand what you're asking for? And so Jesus took this moment again, as the past few weeks, to educate, to enlighten, to catechize, to form them, to admonish them, what it means to be a disciples. And when you look at this whole experience of these disciples, I want you to step into the journey of your own discipleship in your life, because somewhere in your life and in my life, in the subconscious of our mind, there are three things that we will always look for. It's called comfort, honor, and power. Comfort, honor, and power. We will look for it. It's in our minds, it's in our hearts. That's why when Jesus stepped into the desert before his mission, he was tempted with these three temptations: power, prestige, and honor. We all have it. We cannot say it doesn't lie there. It's there to some extent, to some degree. We have this comfort in the midst of this heat, when we look at life. And that is why when Jesus was speaking to the disciples through this journey of the discipleship, he was always addressing these three things, and he was hitting against the Pharisees and the scribes. They seek the place of honor, Jesus says. They wish to be addressed with titles and names, with long tassels and phylacteries. They wish to be adored, but they won't lift a finger, Jesus says. Today he tells the disciples, don't look at this moment of your life. Struggle with it. This honor that we seek, this glory that we seek, doing the spectacular, seeking relevancy in life, being an individual person. I spoke about the self-will some week ago, the self-glorification. It's there, the status that we seek in. We seek that recognition. It's all there. Somewhere it lurks at the depths of our heart. And Jesus took this moment to chastise them and to educate them. As I address these three things that Jesus spoke in today's gospel, comfort, honor, and power, Jesus took the first thing, comfort. And when Jesus spoke about comfort, he spoke about selfless giving. That's how he addressed comfort. He says, be a servant to everyone. It is no longer about yourself. It is about the other now, Jesus says. That's selfless giving. It's not about you anymore, it's about the others. And if you remember the story of the Gospel of John, the washing of the feet, servant leadership, it's about how you can give yourself to others. And that's how the letter of the Hebrews today speaks about it. The high priest who laid down his life for others, who gave it for others. That's the whole experience that Jesus was speaking about. It's about the selfless giving to others. It is no longer about me, it's about the others. That's what Jesus speaks, because comfort is about self. Comfort is about me. It's about the I. And now it's about the other. That's what the first thing Jesus spoke. The second thing that Jesus spoke about was honor. And he spoke about humility. You must decrease and he must increase. Humility is one of the greatest Christian virtues that you call. Mother of all virtues, they say it is. It opens the door to all virtues. Humility. And many of us struggle with it because we carry with us that pride. Why should I step forward and seek that forgiveness? Why should I be the one? And Jesus was always about the humility, unless you become like a little child. It's about that humility of life. And that is one of the greatest struggles the disciples were struggling. When they said, let's call upon fire upon the others, they are not with us. This humility is something that we all seek in life. Humus, earth, unto earth we shall return. And yet we seek this honor in many ways in our lives. Many ways. That recognition of relevancy of life. It's either by the titles we carry or the jobs that we do or the positions we hold on to. And yet Jesus speaks, one must decrease so that the other may increase. Certainly Jesus spoke about power. And when Joseph spoke about this power, it's very interesting when he said about letting go. Because power is to hold on to something. But Jesus says, let it go. Let it go. We all want to be in control. Every one of us wants to be in the driver's seat. No one wants to be a co-pilot. We need to drive. We need to take control of it with power. And Jesus says, just let it go. That's the struggle the disciples were going through in today's gospel. It was about power, honor, and prestige. It was all a struggle with them. If you take a moment to look, I'm going to take you back to last week's gospel. If you look at all those slides that I put up, all of them had a stretched hands and open hands. They all had open hands. Because I take you back to what I spoke last week. Clenched fist is about yourself. Open hands is about someone else. Clenched fist is about fear. Open hands is about freedom. Clenched fist is about yourself. Open hands is about the other. Clenched fist is neither receive nor giving. Open hands is about receiving and giving. That's the paradox of today's gospel. That's the contrast of the values of the gospel. And Henry Newman had this beautiful prayer, which I kind of cherished when he spoke this in his book, Open Hands. And he prayed, Father, grant me the grace to open my clenched fists so that I may experience open hands with others. We struggle with this clenched fist in our hands many times in our lives, especially in relationships. We fear to forgive, and yet the readings tells us it's mercy and love that gives you an open hand. We will struggle with the disciples today like the road to Jerusalem as we close this. Because many times when you look at the gospel text, Jesus went ahead of them. He went ahead of them because they had no notion, perception and understanding of what he was speaking about. They were seeking about that comfort, that honor and that power at the end. And I said this to you, and I say this very boldly to you. Jesus was educating them. Because at the ultimate end of this life, he stretched his hands opened. That's all he did. He stretched his hands open wide for the salvation of humanity. With selfless giving, with humility, and with letting go. The virtues of the gospel today. He stretched it open in open palms. And that's the prayer of Henry Newman in his book, Open Hands. Let us ask the Lord the grace today as we step into the Eucharist and as we are drawing closer to the end of the year, to find some time today to look at the depths of our heart. How much do we thirst, we crave, we hunger and desire for comfort, honor, and for power, of relevancy, of significance in our lives. And yet the Lord tells us today, let go of it in open hands. Seek humility before anything else. And give yourself until it hurts, because those are love and mercy. As the church begins to open its doors, maybe it's time for us to step out from the comforts of our life, from the selfish needs that lies within us, and most importantly, in seeking honor and power to self-giving and humility.